All right, guys, welcome back to Zando Football. Definitely appreciate the support. We're going to get into the safety position, the new feature that they added to Madden, and how we can utilize this new feature to somewhat create new coverages or more so optimize a coverage against our opponents. And this is where the fun begins. This is the art of design. All right, so let's imagine we're facing an air raid offense. And through film study and a core understanding of their core concepts, we set out to create a coverage that puts us in better position for consistent success against what they like to do. But the key is we are not just designing something to shut down one play in their scheme. Like an example is Y corner, a play that is utilized a lot in air raid. Okay. We don't want to do that at the expense of leaving ourselves exposed to the rest of their playbook. Okay. Because that's exactly what a disciplined, well coached offense wants. This is the essence of constraint theory. They run their bread and butter plays until you overcommit resources to stop them, right? And then they hit you with the counters that exploit that overcommitment of your resources, which forces you back into balance. And once you're honest again, they go right back to their bread and butter. Okay. That's how Peyton Manning used to kill people. Our goal is different. We want a coverage that is structurally sound against their overall attack while still layering in deception based on our knowledge of the quarterback's reads and progressions. All right. So let's get right into this here. So looking at Y cross here, they run the same stuff from a lot of different formations and looks. Y corner two is something that we're going to look at. Okay. And with Y cross, it puts a lot of stress on the middle of the field when you play a split safety coverage. Because in split safety, the middle of the field is open. It's where you get MoFo and MOFC. Okay. So, taking a look at this, I believe this is a quarters coverage. I don't know how they teach the progression in Y cross. Some may teach it as a full field concept where you read from left to right. In other words, you go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, which is good because by the time you get to your third read or the crosser, he's running into your vision. Okay, so to me, it makes it easy for the quarterback. But in this instance, we can see where it poses a problem. Okay, in quarters coverage with the safety on our crosser here, if the three rec decides to pin inside and help on a double team with this guy, okay, well, then we have our fourth read in the attack wide open one on the front side. Okay. If you look at the second read in the progression, he's open on the out route underneath. So, I mean, in essence, they put a lot of pressure on the middle of the field with Y cross. Okay. And here we see if we get an instance to where the front side safety doesn't take the slot going across the field because they don't designate that as a vertical threat. Okay, well now you have your middle backer one-on-one trying to run with an athletic receiver, and he's just going to get cooked. Okay, so in essence, whenever it comes to a split safety coverage, your middle player, that middle backer in this instance, he's always going to relate to the number three. All right. So when that crossing pattern crosses, or if we get a push from the back directly to the flat, now we put a scenario to where that middle backer may be forced to run with our slot receiver running across the field, right? And that's the thing with split safety coverages. The middle of the field is open, and that's what Y cross is really good at exploiting in a number of different ways. So we're going to get into something where we can create a trap against what our opponent does with Y cross while also discouraging other plays like Y corner. All right. We're going to leverage our backside safety in doing it. And this is where we get steal coverage. This is a coverage that I read about from Cody Alexander from matchquarters.com. I'll leave a link to the article so you can read for yourself. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to steal the backside safety here on the backside. He's going to work to the front side of the formation here on offense. What he's doing is he's reading the departure of the number 2. All right. He's going to take shuffle steps over and look to rob and take over any crossing pattern from the number 2. Okay. And essentially what we're doing is, if you think about it, at the snap of the ball, the middle of the field looks open. All right. And we're trying to bait the quarterback to throw into a situation where we have this receiver manned up from someone with with better inside position coming over from the backside. Okay. But where it gets interesting is on this front side, our corner is going to play a 2-read concept. He's going to read 2 to 1. Okay. So if 2 goes out, then he's going to collect 2 and play that aggressively with outside leverage. Okay. If 2 doesn't go out, well, then he will look to play man-to-man underneath trail on the number 1. Okay. Our safety over the top, this is where, we utilize the strength of what we're doing from the backside safety, because the backside safety is going to collect the vertical of number 2, especially if he comes across the field on a post or a crossing pattern. Well, we don't need the safety to take the vertical of number 2, right? Like we would in regular quarters coverage. Okay, we're trapping the offense into thinking the middle of the field is open. All right, so what this safety is going to do is we're just going to have him play deep half responsibilities. Now our apex and our middle guy here, okay, well, let's start with the apex. He's going to play cut on the number 2. So cut is basically you're playing man-to-man coverage on whoever's designated that you are dealing with, if he runs back to the ball or vertical, okay, backing up. So if this receiver goes inside, you got him. If this receiver goes vertical, then you got him man-to-man coverage. He's going to play, I believe, inside underneath trail. And the money is relating to the number 3, and we're also going to have a push call involved here. So if the number 3 goes fast to the flat, all right, then we're going to switch responsibilities. I'm going to take the number 2 if he's coming inside. So in other words, I'll be the cut against the number 2, and then now you are relating to the number 3 and taking the number 3. Okay, so we're cutting the number 2 with this guy here, and our middle player is relating to the number 3. All right, now remember, I've went over this before. With split field coverages, the reason why they are very versatile is because this side of the defense is independent of the other side of the defense. What we would be doing is playing a 3/2 on the backside and a 4/3 on the front side. But this steal coverage, we are stealing the backside safety over to the front side of the coverage. So now we are actually playing a 5/3 coverage, which forces us to play man-to-man on the backside. Okay, now that may be scary, but the presentation pre-flop doesn't indicate to the offense that we're actually one-on-one on the backside with these 2 receivers. So where does the safety alignment come in? Why am I stringing you guys along? And I like to build up into why safety alignment can change the way or make us optimize the play. Okay, and I think it's important to kind of get the information I give you first, so you can kind of understand the concept, and then you can leverage the alignment of your safeties to make certain defenses play better. It's all about deception. Maybe not all about it, but it's part of the reason why you can use this. Okay, so we're gonna do something different here. How about we do something like this? All right, notice how the safety on the front side is now playing outside of the number 2. Right? Okay. Everyone's doing the same responsibilities, but think about the way this is presented to the offense. This middle of the field looks even more open with the position of that safety. Okay. So we kind of discourage them, or we encourage them to want to attack the middle of the field. Hey, let's run Y cross or double mills. I mean, not double mills, double post, or the mills concept. I would say double post probably something they want to run to get the number 2 on the post route, because that safety is playing outside leverage and that middle of the field looks wide open, right? Not knowing that we have a backside safety who's poaching over from the backside to collect the number 2. And also the vertical hook, we want him to play inside leverage of the number 2 and to kind of force him to his outside, because we don't want the quarterback to rip a throw in there. Now, the reason why this is so good is because think about wide corner. With the position of the safety here, this discourages the offense to want to run wide corner. Why is that? Because we are playing with outside leverage on this safety, okay? So it discourages them from running wide corner, but encourages them to run wide cross, something that we have designed something to trap the quarterback into throwing into somebody coming over from the backside, right? So just this alignment by the safety alone, we aligned him on the outside of the number 2, but he's not concerned about taking the vertical of number 2. He's not responsible for that. Okay, so we leverage this understanding of the defense in a way to trap the offense into making a bad decision. Okay. So essentially we widen the safeties to make the middle of the field look open, and we trap the offense into making a mistake. Okay. And we do this with the alignment. I'll have it on the screen here. Here's a replay. This is the alignment I used to get our safeties in this particular position. Again, we want the front side safety to play with the outside of the number 2 pre-snap. Now this is how you call cover 9. You man up the backside with these 2 defenders, and you play the backside safety. You have to take his responsibilities, and that's how you do it. That's how you do it, all right? Very simple. So this is against a 3x2 set here. Maybe I'll show you how to run it against other sets. But again, because we know the core concept of air raid, they're gonna run wide cross from the strong side here, right? Then we're gonna take the backside safety and poach him or steal him for the front side, all right? And obviously I went over all the other responsibilities there. Okay, so it's a fairly simple setup, and I think now maybe I'll show some game clips of me running this so we can see this in action, and maybe you can see some of the adjustments I make to different formations, like maybe 3x1, 2x1, etc. All right.